Now, for those who already have tenants, this one's for you, transitioning on an existing tenant. So if the property is already occupied, we formally introduce ourselves as Axe Property Management to the tenants, update payment instructions, transition communication to our team, and review the lease for compliance and clarity, kind of like we were talking before. To ensure this is a smooth handoff without disruption, there's a few things we want to talk about. And it's kind of hidden right here, but one of those is for your protection. We strongly recommend that you send a text email to the tenants that you are no longer the primary contact for the rental property. We'll kind of discuss it in these next slides, but just kind of as a caveat, we've had a lot of issues and a lot of management companies have issues with landlords continuing to have communication with tenants. What that can cause in the future, and I'll give some stories of this, is lack of clarity, lack of confusion, and it will open you up to a lot of liability that you didn't even realize you can have simply from sending a text once every couple of months. Now, as a landlord myself, this was kind of hard for me to understand at the beginning, but I get it. I'm a landlord myself. I want to control my rental property, and I want to make sure as your property management company, we give you as much control as you would like of your rental property. I will never take that away from you. As long as we do, and I always repeat myself, as long as it's legal and ethical, we will support you in those decisions. However, I want to educate and inform our owners from the beginning. The more owner control that you ask for, the more liability you will be taking on. Okay, so I just want to clear this up and make sure we start from the beginning. So why centralized management matters: when owners remain directly involved in tenant communication after management begins, it can unintentionally create confusion with the tenant and risk. Axe Property Management is structured to protect owners by keeping communication, decisions, and documentation centralized. So all of our calls are being recorded with the tenant. All of our text messages are being transcribed and being held in a tenant database. All of our emails are the same way. We do that because if there is something that happens, we are documenting the truth, we know the law, and we're following the appropriate rules. It's a big thing with Axe Property Management. Now, when there is a tenant who is speaking to an owner, there's going to be some information that we are not aware of, which increases your risk. Or sometimes owners are like, I want to handle my own maintenance. No problem. You want that control. I want you to understand from the beginning, you're also taking on that liability. We have no problem with you doing that. But again, it's increasing your liability the more control that you have. The more control you give to the property management company, and we are just able to be giving you that information, but you're not controlling that. We are just informing you, the less liability you have, because we are then being effectively your management company. We are making those decisions, and so you're not responsible for those outcomes. All right. So here's how it works. Owner control, clear visibility through the owner portal, right? This is what we want to see: professional handling of tenant communication, documented decisions, and consistent processing, and reduce involvement in day-to-day issues. That's why you're hiring us. You're hiring a company to ensure that we are handling those processes. So make sure when you hire the company, you allow them to do that. Owners maintain oversight without needing to manage directly. Owner liability, conflicting instructions given to tenants, right? The tenants are saying one thing to you versus what we're saying to you. It happens all the time when we onboard a property. They'll look at us like the bad cop. They'll try putting you against us. So making sure that all the communication goes directly to us so you're not confused about where it's going is important. Missed and undocumented communication, increased exposure to disputes and misunderstandings, and blurred responsibilities between owner and management. Direct involvement after onboarding can unintentionally increase risk. So key takeaway: by allowing Axe Property Management to manage tenant communications and operations, owners retain control while significantly reducing your liability. That is the biggest pro of hiring a management company, in our opinion. You guys can collect rent. It doesn't take a genius to do that. You guys can handle maintenance. It's not hard to do that. But by allowing a third party to handle all the communication, if something happens, you can sit there and say, my hands are clean. This was Axe Property Management. And that's what we want you guys to do. Quick story. We had a owner who just about 4 months ago was given a lawsuit. It was a habitability claim issue. And they called us. They were furious at us. They said, Steven, I got this habitability claim. She's saying that there's roaches. Why didn't you tell us about this? Now, we knew nothing about what she is talking about here. So we reached out to the law firm that's representing the tenant, and they said, Well, Stephen, the tenant informs the landlord because they had the tenant and the landlord actually met during a showing of the property. It's also why we typically like to handle the showings ourselves. This landlord decided to show the property to the tenant. They exchanged communication. We informed the owner, just like we're informing you guys right now. Do not communicate with the tenant. Let them know that all communication needs to go through Axe Property Management. They disregarded that information. Again, this is your property, it's your decision. And about 3 months into the lease agreement, the tenant really quickly messaged the owner and said, "Hey, I have some cockroaches. What do I do?" The owner, not really thinking, busy with the holidays, said something quickly like, "Okay, just set up some traps, and let it be." Well, that didn't go well with the tenant. We were never informed about the maintenance request. And long story short, not only did the tenant break the lease early with no issues, it cost this landlord roughly $10,000 because the tenant sued for pain and suffering because of the issue. This could have been all easily avoided by not having each other's contact information and being clear about where the communication goes. So I'm here to protect you. This is kind of our warning, and like, don't be another horror story like this.